very special good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Briefing. A bit hectic before we got on the air here, so thanks for bearing with us. Lubie, you look like you grew 17 inches since the last time we did this. That was yesterday. What happened here? You go to Office Depot and buy a new chair? What the heck's going on with you? You're like a giant. I feel like I shrunk. This is like being on my dad's Century Village basketball team where they list you at the height that you used to be. But anyway, good to be with you guys. How are you, Mike Lubie Lewis? You feeling okay today?
I'm doing well. Already been a busy morning for me on various fronts, but looking forward to another day of NFC and AFC Championship postscript, and hopefully not too much lamenting about my local NBA team who forgot how to play basketball, even though 2 weeks ago they were like the 4 seed.
They got crushed like a grape again yesterday. That's 7 in a row, and it's really rough. We have a great announcer here, play-by-play announcer in Miami. He's been doing the Miami Heat games since their inception, if you can believe that. I think there are maybe 4 employees in the whole organization that have been there since the 1988-89 season, which was the onset of the Miami Heat franchise. They buried them with their first 17 losses, had a horrible team. Their first draft pick didn't come till the 9th pick overall. And it turned out to be the Bermuda Triangle of basketball, and that was Ronnie Cycli, because the ball would go into the post, and then it would just disappear. That was it. So a real suspect beginning to the franchise's history. Eric Reed's been there since the beginning, but even he was starting to show signs of depression after that 7th loss in a row. No disgrace losing to the Phoenix Suns. Very good team. They'd lost a couple in a row, but nonetheless clobbered the Miami Heat last night. And these inept efforts, ever since Spoelstra got the money, Lubie, all of a sudden the Miami Heat can't win a game. Anyway, we want to zero in on this because I love conspiracy theories when it comes to sports. I know you're a big fan of matters of the occult and things of that nature. But this was one of my favorite ones involving the upcoming Super Bowl game.
Okay.
And of course, I don't want to condemn the MAGA Republicans. I'm sure there are a lot of you out there that really think that Donald Trump is going to save this country, except, the real reason that he's probably running for president is because he wants to save his own ass. That's basically it.
Yep.
I don't know that he has. I mean, when you listen to some of the people from his own inner circle that were a part of his previous regime, they've all turned and said, hey, this is the most dangerous man on the planet. But let's put that aside. We don't want to argue politics here on what essentially is a sports cast and a place where we try to just have a lot of fun. But this does come from the MAGA right side of things, and that is the conspiracy theory. Now, I remember doing an interview many, many years ago. One of the first interviews I ever did was with a guy who was the general manager of the then California Angels. And I was trying to put together a couple of writing samples. So I did some interviews. I was living in Los Angeles, working in restaurants as a waiter. And I thought, geez, I had a nice team of waiters that I worked with in this one restaurant. And I'm looking at these guys, and they were great. But I thought, do I really want to be an older waiter and not take a shot on doing something that was more in line with what I thought my professional aspirations were going to be? So I thought, well, I better get a job somewhere. There were a lot of little newspapers around Southern California, a lot of small radio stations. It seemed like every town had its own newspaper, from Corona all the way out to San Bernardino, Palm Springs. They all had their own newspaper. They all had their own radio station. So there were lots of opportunities on the lowest of planes. In fact, we sometimes tease our good friend, Armin Katayan, who, for some reason, even though he's a man of tremendous journalistic distinction, likes to come on our shows every once in a while. Yeah. And he started out at a small paper outside of San Diego, the Escondido Times. And that was the one parallel of our career. He went, of course, on to 60 Minutes fame and HBO Real Sports and movies. And he's producing Tiger Woods documentaries and writing books that are bestsellers. And we're here peddling this shit. But nonetheless, I needed to get together a couple of writing samples, so I decided let me go for some highbrow interviews by comparison to the stuff that I could have conjured up on my own, interviewing like Tommy Chong when he was playing basketball at the YMCA. So I get an interview with the California Angels general manager, a guy named Harry Dalton, who was very distinguished. He had a great career with the Baltimore Orioles, moved on to the California Angels, did some good things there. They never got that championship. The singing cowboy, Gene Autry, Happy Trails to You. Did he do that one, or was that Roy Rogers? I'm not sure. But anyway, Gene Autry was the owner of the Angels, and he was getting a little long in the tooth, as they're saying about a lot of NFL owners right now, saying, well, you know what, Jerry wants to win one before he checks out. And that was very much true of Gene Autry. So the big line was that he had emptied his saddlebags and signed a bunch of free agents I get an interview with Harry Dalton. And he tells me something that stuck with me to this day, Lubie. And I've related this to you over the many years we've been working together. And he said, the one thing that we can't have happen in sports is that people, and this was long before the betting craze. I mean, betting was kind of an underground thing that was only relatable to the sickest of degenerates. And everybody else would laugh when you were saying, hey, you know what the run line is in that California Angels game? And Dalton said to me in this interview, he said, the one thing that we have to insist on and we have to protect with the utmost of power that we have behind us to make sure that everybody believes that the game is on the level.
Yep.
We can't have people thinking that the games aren't on the level. You can't have some telephone call that was traced back to the Alabama baseball coach where he tells his buddy who just unloaded $30,000 all across the world on the Alabama baseball team, you know, we're going to throw our stud tonight. He's not listed to start.
Yeah.
And you know that's where we're at right now. I mean, if you look at all the prop bets on the Super Bowl, it's insane. The minutia, the way that you can go ahead and bet on just about anything. Somebody to gain 5 yards in a game. That's a fourth string running back. And they have an over under total on that. But this has always been my assumption that sports was out to protect that. Now, every time a guy loses a bet, he starts screaming, it's a fix. Can you believe it? Can you believe these referees? But this is the ultimate stretch of that whole concept with this Ramaswamy guy. Is it what is it? Robbie the Clown? They call him. I'm not sure. Come from some circus somewhere. Where did this guy come from? Anyway, he is now perpetrating the idea. I don't even want to call it a hoax because it's probably not even worth addressing. But nonetheless, it's making headlines. And that is that the fix was in that the NFL wanted to make sure that Kansas City got to the Super Bowl because of the Taylor Swift factor, because Taylor Swift is going to try and sway everybody to vote for Joe Biden, and this would be the ultimate platform. Have you seen this story, Libby?
No.
You look concerned.
No, I have not seen. No.
How much of a stretch is that? I mean, that Joe Biden was behind the Kansas City Chiefs, somehow pounding the living daylights defensively on the Baltimore Ravens, reducing Lamar Jackson to, instead of being the best quarterback of the quartet that was available in the conference championship games, probably the least effective. I mean, think about that. Brock Purdy was running for more yards than Lamar Jackson did in that game. Steve Spagnuolo deserves a lot of credit for devising a defense that once again found a way to diffuse what was just a rolling, steamrolling train of momentum behind Lamar Jackson being the best quarterback in the league. And you would have to look at the 4 performances that we saw last weekend and say far and away, Louie, right? That was the worst performance of any of the quarterbacks. So this conspiracy theory has no grounds whatsoever. But can you imagine? I mean, holy Pete Rose, what are we talking about here? You couldn't possibly have fixed the conference championship games to make sure that Taylor Swift was visible on Super Bowl week so that she can encourage people to vote, which is a good thing, Ramaswamy the Clown. And then the reason that it was all happening, because it was a conspiracy that was constructed by the Biden administration.
There you go.
That's a beauty, huh?
I love that.
What the fuck are we talking about?
Because she's so anti-Trump, they now hate the Chiefs, and now the Super Bowl has become political.
Imagine that. I mean, we talk about political football.
Are you kidding me with this? Get out of here.
Who the hell would even say something like that? I mean, that is the ramblings, the musings of a complete crackpot.
What are they doing?
Yeah, that's one of the stories that surfaced already. The other story that's happening, would you ever pay $9,000 to go see a ball game?
No.
$9,000 is what the
It's funny, being a Dolphin fan my whole life.
Yeah.
And the fact that they haven't even made a Super Bowl and won one. When I was in college, and that's funny, it's 20 years ago now. I thought about this, and before I was in the industry, and I was able to literally go to finals and get paid for it.
Yeah.
At that point, I remember saying, I would pay a few thousand to see the Dolphins in the Super Bowl. Now, I can't say that's exactly true.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be an annuity for me. I had a connection with the Miami Dolphins, who I'd done a lot of work for over the years and was involved not so much inside the organization, but certainly right there on the periphery of being a Dolphin member of the Dolphin family or whatever, doing pregame and postgame, on-field announcements and all kinds of crazy stuff, all kinds of shows with coaches and players all over town. And I had a friend who used to accommodate me by letting me buy 2 tickets to every Super Bowl game. Now, the face value on the tickets, I think, was $400 back then. This was circa early 90s. $400 was the face value, and that seemed like an astronomical sum. I mean, if you could get your hands on a couple of tickets, and I used to unload them. It was an annuity for me. I used to sell them, of course, because I was unlikely to attend the game, especially if I knew I could get $2,000 a copy or $2,500 a copy for these tickets. But imagine you're a party of two. You want to go see the Chiefs or the San Francisco 49ers. Maybe you're a lifetime fan. Costs you 18 dimes to get your hands on 2 tickets.
Jesus.
And that comes with a wad of cotton, because you're no doubt going to be deep in the nosebleed section with those $9,000 tickets. I would imagine some kind of premium seat would be in excess of what, $25,000, $30,000 for the tickets, Lubie?
You would think.
That's insane.
That's
what
crazy.
is wrong with you people? I mean, if you had that kind of money to blow, I guess, if you're Jeff Bezos or something, what's the difference if you unload like $30,000? But that money could be put to far better use, you would think, if you were inclined to just spend that kind of dough for 3 hours of entertainment, plus the hassle actually going to the game. Now, it is in Las Vegas, which naturally was of great appeal to us, and we were planning on being out there, except for this little medical circumstance I found myself in. Hey, what's the matter? You dying, Defo? No, I'm going to be okay. But the time for the healing process, unfortunately, overlapped with my already scheduled trip to Las Vegas. I couldn't wait for this to happen, but still, if you had to shell out $10,000 a copy for a ticket, or even 9, that would seem beyond absurd to me, unless you had made some big score on a slot machine, which is very unlikely to happen, people. I would imagine, in addition to the $9,000, hotel rooms have to be going for what, $600-700 a night?
Oh, yeah.
To stay at a Motel 6 somewhere out by Lake Havasu.
For sure.
You got to swim to the fucking game. That's going to be rough, but should be a good time. I mean, had by all. It'd be fun to just be in that atmosphere and not go to the game and save yourself 18 grand. But it does seem like this one's a little bit pricey. A rematch of a game that took place here in Miami a couple of years ago, and San Francisco. Now the money's coming in on the Chiefs. It must be part of that Ramaswamy, Taylor Swift theory that they're going to purposely have officials that are biased towards the Chiefs, so that Taylor Swift can deliver her message. I think she even drops into the stadium, one of those things like Lady Gaga, where she comes flying in on a trapeze with a big "Vote for Biden" shirt on. But crazy stuff going on around the Super Bowl already. And that kind of talk is a lot more entertaining than that one year that the only thing that we had to talk about before the game, the Indianapolis Colts-Bears game in Miami many years ago, where the only topic of conversation was whether or not Dwight Freeney's ankle was going to be okay for him to play in a ball game. I remember hearing endless conversations about that. So we'll see what really gathers some steam as the top stories going into the Super Bowl. But so far, this one takes the cake of all-time Super Bowl speculation stories. It's Ramaswamy guy who was speculating that the league had fixed the game, courtesy of Joe Biden, so that Taylor Swift could deliver a powerful message and get Biden elected president for a second time.
There wasn't even that much. That's what's funny. A lot of people are like, oh, the cheating Chiefs, because I know they become the new Patriots and they get all the calls. But I don't remember like a ton of calls that were like these horrible calls.
They hardly made any calls in that game.
Exactly.
Conference championship games, I think they were instructed, hey, don't call shit. Who's that tackle on the Chiefs that gets called for holding on every play?
No, yeah, there was a dude that got called for holding twice in a row. It was like, dude, what are you doing?
I think he led the league in holding calls. If he isn't holding on to something, he isn't on the field. All right, we have to run for today. Yeah, we'll have a lot more for you on the Super Bowl. And, of course, we're going to try and implement a moratorium on Super Bowl conversation for like 3 days. I don't know if we can do it. And then take it into next week with our Super Bowl speculation and theorizing and all of the different things that go around and come around with covering the game. For Mike Lubie, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate all the support we're getting on Caffeine TV and on NoFilter.net. Of course, the great people there with the morning briefing. And we'll see you next time with the next edition of the show.
Oh, wait.